Shalom and welcome back to Israel with Aline. The Bible is the best-selling and most read book in the world, but still, many people doubt its truthfulness. Today, we're going to talk about 9 archaeological findings that shocked skeptics and archaeologists and proved the historical truth of the Bible. So if you're ready, let's get started.
You're probably wondering about this vial I'm wearing around my neck. It contains soil from inside the Temple Mount, carrying biblical history with me. In 1999, this soil was illegally dumped to erase our past, but archaeologists rescued it through the Temple Mount Sifting Project. Own a piece of history and support their work. Scan the QR code or use the link below for a memorable holiday gift.
So we're going to talk about 9 findings that changed the history of biblical archaeology. And first of all, there's the Tel Dan Stele, also known as the David Stele. Steles are upright stones with inscriptions or symbols. Until the early 1990s, most historians and archaeologists did not believe that King David really existed. They believed that King David was a myth invented by the people of Israel. But that will change thanks to the Tel Dan inscription. In 1993, the archaeologist Avraham Biram and his team found this stone in Tel Dan, which is in the far north of Israel. On it, it is written about an enemy king who attacks Israel and manages to kill 2 kings. Jehoram, son of Ahab, and Uzziah, son of Jehoram from the house of David. Guys, this is the only inscription outside the Bible that mentions King David, and more than that, the house of David means his descendants. And these 2 kings are mentioned in the Bible. Jehoram is the son of Ahab and the terrible Jezebel, and Uzziah is a descendant of King David, as you can see here in this family tree. And look how amazing this is. This battle is also told in the Bible. In the 2nd book of Kings, chapter 8, it tells us how Hazael, the king of Damascus, attacks Israel. So here we have concrete archaeological evidence of the existence of King David and his descendants, and also of this biblical battle. All of this in this little stone. And the second finding is Hezekiah's tunnel. He reigned here 2,700 years ago. And in his time, Assyria attacked Israel and Judah. And that's why now he will face one of the greatest armies of the ancient world. And that's why, when he learns that the Assyrians are coming, he begins a series of preparations for this great battle. After these things and this truth, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and entered Judah and camped against the fortified cities and tried to seize them. So when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib was coming and that he was determined to fight against Jerusalem, he consulted with his princes and his mighty men to stop the water from the springs that were outside the city, and they helped him. Also, Hezekiah stopped the upper spring of the waters of Gihon and directed them down to the west side of the city of David, for Hezekiah prospered in all his works. And this very tunnel, which is mentioned in the Bible, was discovered in 1838. But how do we know that it is exactly the same tunnel? First, it fits perfectly with the biblical description, but mainly because this inscription was found inside it, which tells us how this tunnel was built. It is more than half a kilometer long, completely dark and filled with freezing water. But if you want us to go there and film this 2,700-year-old tunnel that's mentioned in the Bible, let us know in the comments. But now let's move on to the third archaeological find, which is the wall of Hezekiah, built by King Hezekiah, also to protect the city of Jerusalem. And this wall is not mentioned just once, but 3 or even 4 times in the Bible. And it says the following: "You also counted the houses of Jerusalem and tore down the houses to strengthen the walls." What the prophet Isaiah is telling us is that at that time, they didn't have time to build a wall that surrounded all the houses in the city. And that's why, in their hurry and fear of the Assyrian attack, they built the wall that went over the houses in the city, which was not a common thing at that time. And when this wall was excavated, what was found was exactly that it goes over the houses in the city, just as the Bible tells us. But now the question that arises is, who is going to win this battle? The Assyrians, with a great army, arrive at Jerusalem after all these works that Isaiah does. And the one who wins the battle is God. Look at this passage. "Therefore, this is what the Lord says about the king of Assyria. He will not enter this city, nor shoot an arrow here, nor come before it with a shield, nor build a siege ramp against it. By the way that he came, he will return. He will not enter this city, says the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it, for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David." So it happened that on that very night, the angel of the Lord went out and struck down the Assyrian camp, and 185,000 of them, when they got up early in the morning, behold, they were all corpses. Then Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed, went away, returned, and stayed in Nineveh. This passage tells us about God's love for his city, Jerusalem. And in the end, all the great walls, buildings, and tunnels that Hezekiah built were not necessary because God protected his city. And the fourth find on our list is the Sennacherib prisms. It's time to talk about the great enemy of the people of Israel and of Hezekiah. These 3 prisms made of clay, written in cuneiform script, reveal a lot to us. These prisms tell us the story of the battle of the people of Israel against Sennacherib, seen through the eyes of the enemies. And this discovery is so important because it tells the story of Israel, not only through our own accounts, but through the eyes of the enemies. Look at what is written. "As for the king of Judah, Hezekiah, who did not submit to my authority, I besieged and captured 46 of his fortified cities, along with many smaller towns taken in battles with my battering rams. I took as plunder 215,000 people, young and old, male and female, along with a large number of animals, including horses, mules, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep. As for Hezekiah, I shut him up like a caged bird in his royal city of Jerusalem. I built a series of fortresses around him and did not allow anyone to leave the city gates." See that he doesn't want to give any credit to God. We know that he gets to Jerusalem, prepares for battle, but then turns around and leaves because God kills his soldiers. Instead of saying the soldiers were attacked by God or struck by a plague, he says, "No, no, no. I arrived, surrounded the city, I trapped them inside," but we know that wasn't the plan. His plan was to attack and conquer the city of Jerusalem, just like all the others. But this shows that he really couldn't conquer Jerusalem and had to leave. And once again, it shows us the truthfulness of this biblical passage. In fifth place is the Israel Stele, also known as the Merneptah Stele. This stone was found inside the funerary temple of the pharaoh named Merneptah. And on line 27, it is written about Israel. This pharaoh attacks Canaan and he talks about the people of Israel. This stone is over 3,200 years old. It is the oldest text ever found that mentions the people of Israel. And in sixth place on our list is the tomb of King Uzziah. The plaque that was at the entrance of the tomb was found, and it says the following: "For this place the bones of Uzziah were brought." The king of Judah, do not open. First, once again, the name of a biblical king appears, a descendant of the house of David. But why, in the end, is it written, "Do not open"? The Bible tells us that Uzziah died a leper. And maybe years later, when they made that sign, they were afraid that people would go in and touch the bones of a king, especially a leprous king. The seventh place on our list is truly shocking. He talks about the 12 tribes of Israel, about the name of God, biblical wars, and much more. We're talking about the Moabite stone, also known as the Stele. Mesha was the king of Moab, but in his time, Moab was under the control of the people of Israel, and they had to pay taxes to Israel. Because 40 years earlier, Omri had conquered that whole region. And on this stone, Mesha tells how he fought for the independence of Moab. He is going to fight against the tribe of Gad, which is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And look on the map where they were located. They were located right next to the territory of Moab. And on this stone, it is written that he takes the God of Israel, the Tetragrammaton, the name of God is present. And he takes the God of Israel and goes to humiliate him before Chemosh, who was the main god of Moab. He humiliates the God of Israel and reinstates the pagan polytheistic worship in that territory, which is on the other side of Israel. And this stone is from the year 830 before Christ. It is literally 2,850 years old. And on it appears the name of God, the tribe of Gad. And it tells us about this battle, which is also mentioned in the Bible. And these kinds of findings told by the enemies are even more important for skeptics, for those who don't believe in the Bible, to show them that this is not just a historical view from the people of Israel, but also that all the peoples of the region knew about those events. And the second to last artifact on our list is connected to Jesus, and it is the stone of Pontius Pilate. It was found in Caesarea Maritima, next to the palace where Pontius Pilate lived. And on it is written the following: Tiberium Pontius Pilatus Praefectus Judaiae he made dedicavit. It is written in Latin that the Tiberium was built by Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea. Many people doubted the historical existence of Pontius Pilate, or that he was really the governor here in Judea at the time of Jesus. And this stone removed any doubt. What is the Tiberium? We don't know, but that doesn't matter. What matters to us is the historical proof of him as governor, because we know that not long after he writes this inscription, he will come to Jerusalem to judge and sentence Jesus to death by crucifixion. And the last artifact we're going to talk about is the Cyrus cylinder. This cylinder changed the history of the people of Israel and also of other peoples in this region. How did that happen? Years earlier, the Babylonian Empire conquered Israel, destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, and sent the Jews into exile in Babylon. They also exiled other peoples and oppressed all these peoples, including the Jews. They sit in Babylon and pray to God to one day be able to return to their land. We sat and wept by the rivers of Babylon. And finally, God will answer the prayers. The Babylonian Empire will be destroyed by Cyrus, the king of Persia. And now he will take the people of Israel and the other peoples who were exiled and allow them to return to their land. The return to Zion. It's declared on this cylinder. This cylinder, everyone, is the text where Cyrus speaks and announces to the peoples that they can return to their land. I imagine the Jews in ancient Babylon hearing those words that they would be able to return to their land. And they return and rebuild the second temple of Jerusalem. And then a great biblical period begins, which will end with the destruction of the temple later in the year 70. So this little artifact, it is the fulfillment of the divine word when God promises the land of Israel to his people. The people were exiled, but they returned thanks to God's intervention and the Cyrus cylinder. Archaeology reveals a lot to us about the Bible and also about our own history. And that's why I think it's so wonderful to be in the land of Israel and to be able to see archaeology firsthand. Thank you all for watching. Big kisses, and I'll see you next time.